A silent snowfall covered the tiny village of Cedar Hollow, tucked between frozen pines and misty hills. Inside a crooked wooden cabin, Mara Ellsworth, a 34-year-old widow, wrapped a thin blanket around her youngest child. The old lantern flickered. Her 5 children sat close, trying to absorb whatever warmth was left in the room. Food had been scarce for weeks. But Mara never let fear show on her face. Late that evening, as the wind howled like an angry beast, her eldest daughter, Lila, whispered, "Mom, will we be okay?" Mara gently placed a hand on her daughter's cheek. "We will," she said softly. "Your father may be gone, but his strength is still with us." Outside, the snowstorm thickened until the whole world turned white. Mara stepped to the doorway, staring at the distant lights of the town. She knew she had to do something, anything, to keep her children alive. With trembling hands, she put on her old coat, one that belonged to her late husband, Evan Ellsworth. His scent was long gone, but the memory remained. She whispered to the night, "Evan, guide me." Morning came with a freezing calm. Mara strapped her infant on her back, held her youngest son's hand, and led the children toward the market square. The villagers of Cedar Hollow were kind people, but winter kindness was often buried under survival. Mara approached the baker, Mr. Haven, a gruff elderly man whose eyebrows always looked angry. "Sir, could I buy just a small loaf?" she asked. He frowned. "Mara, you owe from last week. I can't give more." Her heart sank. Next, she visited the carpenter's wife, Mrs. Arden, who used to be her friend long ago. But even she turned away, pretending not to see Mara's trembling hands. Hours passed. The children grew tired and hungry. Finally, Mara found a quiet corner behind the grain store. She knelt, pulling her children close so the wind wouldn't bite their faces. "Listen to me," she said, her voice breaking, "I will find a way. I promise." That night, after putting the children to sleep, Mara slipped out quietly toward the river bridge. She planned to gather driftwood to sell the next morning. But a shadow stepped out from behind a lamppost. A man, tall, rugged, wearing a long coat, stood silently watching her. His name was Jonas Reed, the reclusive war veteran who lived alone on the hill. Jonas took a cautious step forward. "Mara? What are you doing out here at this hour?" She stiffened, hugging her coat tightly. "I'm just looking for firewood." He studied her thin, shivering frame. "You shouldn't be out here. It's dangerous." "I don't have a choice," she whispered. Jonas breathed out slowly. He had seen desperation before, on battlefields, in dying villages. But seeing it in this woman's eyes pierced something deep within him. Without another word, he placed his lantern beside her feet and walked to the riverbank. He returned carrying a pile of wood stacked higher than her shoulders. Mara stared in disbelief. "Jonas. I can't accept this." "It's not charity," he replied. "It's human decency." Her eyes stung with tears she tried to hide. No one had helped her in months. For days afterward, Jonas quietly left food near her door, never knocking, never asking for thanks. Bread. Firewood. A small jar of honey for the children. Mara knew it was him. But she never mentioned it, afraid the kindness would stop if she acknowledged it. The villagers eventually began whispering. "The widow of Cedar Hollow, someone's helping her. Must be that lonely war man. Maybe they're hiding something." Rumors floated like smoke. But Mara kept her head down, focusing only on her children's survival. One evening, a brutal snowstorm shook the cabin so hard the walls creaked. The children huddled near the small fire. Mara prayed it wouldn't die out. Suddenly, 3 heavy knocks rattled the door. Mara froze. The children looked up with wide eyes. She opened the door slowly. And there stood Jonas Reed, snow covering his shoulders, carrying a large sack of supplies. "I heard your roof might collapse," he said. Let me help reinforce it. Mara didn't know what to say. No one had ever shown this level of kindness, not since Evan's death. As Jonas worked through the storm, the children watched him with awe. When he finished, he knelt beside them, offering warm stew from his flask. Mara whispered. Why are you doing this? Jonas looked at her with quiet sorrow. Because I know what it feels like to lose everything. And I won't let you lose your family too. Tears finally escaped her eyes, tears she had held back for months. She lowered her head and whispered. Thank you, Jonas. Truly. That night, for the first time in a long time, Mara felt hope. Not because someone saved her. But because someone saw her pain without judgment. And in the snowy silence of Cedar Hollow, a widow and her 5 children finally slept in warmth, knowing they were not alone anymore.